big surprise.
So even though those of you outside of the circle have come just as observers, we would love to have you included. If you'd love to come in or would care to come in so we can hear your voice, it would be wonderful. But it's up to you, whatever you feel more.
Yeah, if you're happy observing, you go right ahead.
But you could observe from here too, you know.
Thank you so much. Love to hear from you. Okay, you do that. Get this out of your way. So we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jeanette. I am the facilitator. This is Diane. She'll be recording recording our conversations. The idea is that the report will go back and it will end up hopefully in the hands of the people that can make some decisions so that we can move forward in a good way in regards to police relationships and police-community relationships and interactions. So that is where that report will go. I'm not 100% positive, but I think you may be able to find those on the city website as well. I wanted to let you know that as far as our relationship to the city of Albuquerque, we are contractors, so we don't work for the city. So our goal is to keep this as unbiased as possible, make sure that everybody's voices are heard and that everybody has that opportunity to speak. So we will go over some guidelines before we actually start our dialogue. There is an evaluation that you have. It's the 8x10 form that you have there. But at the end, before you leave, if you could give us some feedback, that'd be great. That really helps us to move forward in a good way. I want to go ahead and find out if there's anybody that needs to leave early today. Is there anybody that is going to have to kind of excuse themselves?
I need to leave at 12:30.
Okay. Good. So we will take a break. We'll go for about an hour and a half until our pizza comes. We do bring pizza so that we can have something to get energized. And then we'll come back into the dialogue, and then we'll be done, obviously, by 2:30.
If I could just say something for a moment, I'd appreciate it. I don't know if any of you have attended any of the other dialogues. When we started these dialogues, at first, we had a lot of community members. We didn't have a lot of officers, and some of the word didn't get down to them early enough in the process. And then the last few we've had about 4 or 5 officers in each group, and it's been a really good. It's hard to have a dialogue without, all parties here. Today, apparently, most of the officers that wanted to attend are now out at a funeral for the other officer that was killed. So
we do have an officer here.
Oh, do we? Great, thank you.
He's just not in uniform.
Well, that's allowed too. Thank you for coming. But I just wanted to let you know that the officers not being in attendance is certainly not from lack of interest, but they had other places that they needed to be today. So, and thank you, sir, for coming. We appreciate it.
There's been some suggestions from community members for officers to come in and participate sort of voluntarily, and I think you are here voluntarily, and we appreciate that because it shows that there's real interest there from the department. So why don't we do this before we get started? Let's just go around and introduce ourselves. Diane and I will start, and then we'll go around. So just kind of giving us your name, the part of the city that you live in, and kind of what inspires you to be a part of these dialogues. So my name is Jeanette Martinez. I live in the northeast side of Albuquerque. And the thing that inspires me to be a part of this is that I am allowed to use my skills to try and bring better relationships between the community and APD. I think that there are misunderstandings or maybe incidences that have happened that have created some distrust, maybe some hurt and some harm that's been done, and that if I can be a part of this and help to create a safer city for all of us, being that we all live in it, I really see it as an honor to do that. So that's where I am.
And I'm Diane Grover. I live in the Northeast Heights. I've been a facilitator with the city for many years. As a contractor, I don't work for the city, as Jeanette said. One of the reasons, or the main reason that I'm here is because I think that, we look at community police dialogues as if we're two different groups, but we are community that are policemen and we are community that are not policemen or policewomen. And as Jeanette said, a lot of things are about the need for conversation. It's not about good, bad, right, wrong. It's a need for conversation, and that's what we do for a living, is get people together to converse, or both of us are also mediators, and we work a lot with people that are, have differences, and 99.9% they're all workable. So we want our community to be a full community all working together, and that's what we're here. So.
We would start thinking around the circle.
Okay, then. My name is Charles Boyden, and right now I'm staying in Central in Utah area. It's close to Wyoming and Central. Yeah. So I get to see the police quite a bit, and so far, from what I can tell, they're doing a pretty good job in that particular area. Is pretty here lately it's been almost like a crime scene every other day. But the police, from what I can tell, the police are doing a good job in the area, trying to contain it as best as they can. And the reason why I got involved was just, I've heard so much about what's been going on with the police department and the community, and the use of excessive force or misuse of, and the use and misuse of excessive force in the last maybe 4 or 5 years in the news. Well, the last couple of years, Albuquerque and this particular problem is becoming nationwide, and so I got involved in it that way, trying to maybe give some information and try to be helpful to try to not to solve the problem, but try to find solutions to the problem.
And my name is Barbara Grady, and I live in the North Valley of Albuquerque. I've been here most of my life, and I've lived in many other places, and I was a VISTA volunteer in the 60s, and which is how I got out of it. And I was trained in community development. And the recent activities with the Department of Justice here in Albuquerque, I view this as an opportunity for us to work together as a community to improve the relationships in the community. I have 3 grown sons, and the youngest of whom is a police officer with APD. And it's been interesting hearing what goes on from a police perspective and what goes on in these meetings. And the primary thing that's in my mind is the police are the community. They don't live outside of Albuquerque for the most part. They're concerned about our community, and I'm appreciative of their voices being heard. So, and I welcome the opportunity to be here. Each time I think that I'll give up my chair to an observer. And if you would, your video? Yeah.
There's an empty chair still.
There's never been an opportunity to just go and be an observer, so I'm here as a concerned citizen.
Thank you.
I'm Ernie Sturdivant, like Barbara. I'm a concerned citizen. I first became involved in this issue back in 2011 via City Council, where the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Center was actively involved in APD reform, working with the families of victims of APD shootings. And so I've been kind of on the ground and seen how, as a result of the non-responsiveness of the department leadership and of the city leadership, that the citizens approached the DOJ to investigate APD. And so that's been my entree into this issue. And certainly welcome the exchange of ideas around the table from all sources.
My name is Charlotte Blair. I live in Ohio. I go to school in Ohio, but I grew up in Corrales, New Mexico. I've been, policing and criminal justice systems have been a major point in the village where I'm living right now, and there's a lot of meetings around policing and kind of community meetings and to get a better understanding and more perspectives. And I've been pretty involved in those, and since I love Albuquerque so much, and it's my home, it's my city, I felt the need to kind of see what's going on. I've been trying to keep an eye on what's going on here in Albuquerque, because it's been a major thing.
Good morning, I'm Carolyn, and I live in the northwest part of Albuquerque. And I've been to a number of these meetings just as a concerned citizen. I retired 2 years ago and moved permanently to Albuquerque, and so now I want to make sure our community is continues to be a good place to live.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Noel Johnson. I'm a recently retired 30-year military security police person. After 30 years in the military, I retired out of Kirtland. I'm here as a concerned citizen and help any way I can. My background is in policing and in security. I had the fortune of working with the Air Force Inspection Agency as of recently, and I got the opportunity to go around and look at the military installations, policing and security things in the United States and abroad. So looking forward to being an active member or being a part of whatever I can in the community. I will say this, as in my travels, I've often to listen to Americans at different locations and where I go, and as soon as I say I'm from Albuquerque, the flag goes on Albuquerque, so everybody heard about Albuquerque. So again, as we can increase our communication and awareness amongst the citizens and the community, hopefully we can help build the communities and the police reputation better.
Thank you.
My name is Klaus Nicolaides. I'm an officer with the Albuquerque Police Department. Not for too long. I'm only with the department for 1 year. I'm born and raised in Germany. I lived in 5 different countries. I have a degree in electrical engineering, so I'm not, or am I the typical police officer? That's the question here, because there is no typical police officer. The reason I'm here is because I'm concerned about giving the other side of the story. And me and my family, we didn't really know anything about policing before I joined APD. And all the stuff we learned is information we never had before. So if I see something in the media, I see it in a totally different light now than I did 3 years ago, because we didn't have the information. That's why I'm here, to make sure that people actually understand that we are the community. The police has no power without getting the power from the community. If the community isn't on the police's side, the police can't do anything. And that's what people need to understand as number one. And all the people I know from the police department, they're trying their hardest to portray a good picture of the police and do the right thing.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, what was your first name again?
Klaus?
Klaus, thank you.
K-L-A-U-S.
Thank you.
My name is Robin Hammer. I'm the Acting Executive Director of the Civilian Police Oversight Agency, which is an agency of the city, but independent from the mayor's office, independent from the police department, which is charged with receiving information about Albuquerque Police Department from citizens, either complaints about the department or notices that the police have done a good job. So on our website, we have the ability to file a written complaint, in which I have 4 investigators who independently investigate complaints against the police. and then I make findings, which are then presented to the board, the Police Oversight Board, which meets monthly. Also, the Civilian Police Oversight Agency is charged with reviewing officer-involved shootings, and it's also charged with making systemic change suggestions to the department. So I'm here to listen and to get input, so that input, in addition to what the facilitators are doing, would also be part of my agency's suggestions to the department for possible changes or ways that the community can be engaged with the department. Thank you.
My name is John Varsa. I've lived in Albuquerque since 1958. My next birthday is 80 years of age. I'm a retired architect. I belong to Sandia Civitan Club, that is a volunteer organization. I've been to half a dozen of these meetings now. My purpose in being at these meetings is to absorb information and other points of view than those that I have. One of my main interests is the reduction of lawsuits brought against the City of Albuquerque by people who have been, I guess, ill-treated by the Albuquerque Police Department in one or another way. And by the way, I'm one of those people, and I brought suit against the City of Albuquerque a number of years ago, and I won that suit. And I collected money out of the coffers of the City of Albuquerque. I want to see that aspect reduced in frequency and in the amounts of money that the city has to put out when the courts find that APD made some serious mistake. My interest is in seeing the City of Albuquerque grow to be better in every regard, and police and civilian communications and contacts and behavior is just one of those areas. What else? That's enough.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. We have a newcomer. We're going to put him on the spot. If you could just introduce yourself, what area you're from, and kind of what inspires you to be a part of these dialogues.
My name is Larry Cronin. I live in the North Valley. I'm an attorney. I've been working on homeless issues in one way or another for the past 15 years. And
thank you. One of the things that I do want to mention, I see a lot of very familiar faces here. Many of you have attended our dialogues many times. As you know, the questions that we ask are the same questions. The idea for every dialogue, the idea was that we would have stakeholder groups, those that have some association with homeless. Today, obviously, is the homeless dialogue. Actually, it's the collaboration on police-community relations. They didn't put the. Oh, sorry, it's right on the very top. Homeless advocacy and interest. So the idea is to bring different stakeholders from different groups to give their input in regards to the relations and the interactions between police and community. So today, the hopes are that we can focus on the issue of homelessness and your interests and those types of things. So I just wanted to speak to those that have been here several times, because you are going to be hearing the questions framed the same way as they have been in other dialogues. Before we get started, I do want to share, and if you, in your handout, there are some guidelines that I do want to just make sure that we all sort of are aware of. We're not going to go through all of them, but we will go through the first sort of set of guidelines important for us to be able to move forward and really hear each other in a good way and have a voice and make sure that our voices are heard. So the first guideline that's on here is that we'll speak and listen with respect so that we may learn from one another. Sometimes it's hard when we have a very passionate perspective. Sometimes we want to speak out right away and give that perspective. But if we can just speak and listen, everybody will have that opportunity to really use their voice as we do that. So the speaking and listening part and just being respectful of everybody is very important. Be as concise as possible. The questions are very pointed, so I'm hoping that everybody can stay on target around that, what those questions are. So be as concise as possible so that others may have the opportunity to speak. If we start to deviate a lot, we get off subject. So I am going to hold everybody to about 5 minutes, and at the end, if there's something that you didn't get to say, I will give you that time to do that, but we don't want to again, it's very important that everybody has that opportunity to speak. Address the problem, don't attack the person. So again, it's more of that thing. If you do have, you're very passionate about one thing, talk about what that thing is as opposed to really making it about the person that's speaking that point of view. Seek clarification before making assumptions, that if there are some comments that you want to make, that you make sure that you clarify what it is that you're answering to the person that made that comment so that we can stay on track. Seek solutions that meet everybody's needs, so looking at your needs, but as well as the needs of everybody else involved. And share your thoughts, beliefs, and ideas without trying to convince others to change their own. Again, it's just respecting everybody's point of view. And then listen to understand and gain insight into the experience, beliefs, and concerns of others. I think that's a big part of what we get to do today, is that everybody really have that opportunity to put things out there that are of concern to them. So just a reminder, I will keep you to that sort of 5-minute time limit, and I mean no disrespect. I just want to make sure that everybody has some time to share. So, anybody have any questions, anything they want to clarify?
First of all, I apologize for being late. I had a little car trouble. So, okay. But I do have a question. Sure. And I appreciate that these have been going on all over the city. Mm-hmm. How it was decided to have the issue about homelessness at this particular location, because this doesn't seem to be a community that is ripe with a lot of homelessness. Probably there is some, but rather than having it in an area that homeless actually are residing in and would be better able to participate.
So the concern is that if it was in an area where homeless people really were present, there'd be more homeless people here.
There may be, and I don't know if anybody here is homeless because I wasn't here when you were introducing.
Makes a lot
so
of
I
sense.
don't, assume one way or another. Absolutely. But
yeah.
And I'll just put it out, because it piques my suspicion that it was designed not to be here so as there wouldn't be easy access to homeless individuals who might want to participate.
I would just say that concern was raised previously, okay. And that Ty from the ADR division of the city said that there would be a second homeless dialogue later in April, and he would have that date.
And that dialogue is set for the South Broadway, I can't remember the name of the facility. But yeah. So that has been raised, and they're trying to address that. But thank you very much for bringing it up.
May I echo that as well, because none of these dialogues have been held in the areas of the city that have the most problem with APD. And if they do hold one, at South Broadway, that will be the first time that they go into an area with meaningful expression of the population in the area. They haven't done that on the east side at all.
There's not been any dialogues on the east side?
There hasn't been anything at Cesar Chavez Community Center on the east side. They've all been in lovely white neighborhoods with little access of public transportation, to put it bluntly. And this complaint has been raised before.
With all due respect, Ernie, we've had some at Wells Park that I've attended, and we've had some at the Highlands Community Center, which is on Central and Washington, areas in which there are concerns from the immediate area about APD.
None at Cesar Chavez. I've been in Highland as well.
And that will go in the record for this meeting.
And there's other near central community centers that haven't been included.
One of the dialogues that do take place at Cesar Chavez, like the CCP meetings, I don't know if you know about those, the community policing council meetings where community members actually apply to be a part of this council, this board, and they go out and they actually are communicating, putting themselves out there in regards to the issues in particular neighborhoods. And then there's police officers that are also there, and they are a part of the board, and so they have this dialogue in regards to what's happening, and then recommendations are made to the chief or to someone in the department to see if conditions can change at the sort of at the level of where we're at right now. So the chief gets to see those immediately, and Selena Espinosa was hired to help with the process as well. And I know that at the very beginning when we were trying to, they were trying to put this together, that it was hit and miss. But thank you, because we really do need to hear that. And you know, as far as the neighborhood, trying to have these meetings at neighborhoods where people that are really impacted can participate makes a lot of sense. So, thank you.
And I am aware that they have added more of these dialogues through June, and I don't know where they're being held yet, but that should be coming out soon.
And the Community Policing Council that is for the Southeast Area Command meets on the third Thursday of every month from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Cesar Chavez Community Center.
And community members are, even though you're not on the council, you're more than happy. I mean, you're more than welcome to attend.
Which Thursday? What?
It's the third Thursday of every month from 6 to 8. The whole, there are 5 of those councils which have been set up as part of the settlement agreement. The Valley Area Command one has not been set up yet, is my understanding.
Valley Area Command is, yeah, I'm leading that one, and that one is at Los Terranas, the third Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's another one I don't have information about, but the general schedule is on the Civilian Police Oversight Agency website, which is the city's website, cabq.gov/CPOA. And there's a general calendar, and I'll make sure, Diane, that we add the Valley Area Command one on there.
Okay, what was that?
CABQ.gov /
okay.
CPOA.
Thank you.
For Civilian Police Oversight Agency.
Gotcha.
Can I ask a question? Are those open to the public?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but in order to be on the CCP, you have to apply and be approved by the APD or the...
I think it's the mayor's office was the way it was set up through. And the application to be on those councils is through the mayor's website on the city.
But the meetings are open to the public?
The meetings are totally open, and Diane can speak more to them because she's part of them, but they would have a public comment section.
Great, thanks.
And not to belabor it, but may I share that I was on the city's website this morning for these meetings, and there's nothing yet posted for June that I saw.
For dialogues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's something that we can actually, Selena Espinosa has been on board 2 months, maybe, because of the fact that there was some real, I don't want to say chaos, but like where are we going, what are we doing, how is this going to happen, and so she's been hired on to really be a part of that and be the ear of the community. So there's talks, what's the website, talks.com, what is that? Talkwithacop.com. Selena reads those emails all the time. So I would definitely get on there, www.talkwithacop.com. And what she does is she reads those emails and then she tries to take action on them. And if she's not, then send an email and say, you're not taking action. That's what I would do. But I know, she's invested in trying to do something about that.
I think there's another.
Yes.
One question.
Sure.
Could you introduce the people who are on the cameras and tell us what they're doing here today?
You know what? I don't know what to do, so why don't we do that?
And whoever else has come in.
Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and start? Would you mind just kind of tell us who you're filming for and your name?
Yeah, of course. I'm an independent citizen journalist. I freelance for some local publications here in Albuquerque. I'm filming for my own record and information. It may be put up on YouTube. I know he's gone. I know these are definitely going on YouTube. No one's just so everyone's aware.
Thank you. If you can introduce yourself.
I'm Ellen Copeland, and I'm a concerned citizen.
Thank you. And the UNM.
I'm Craig Pachuckley. I work at UNM and part of the observer role.
My name is Rachel, and I work for UNM.
So,
could I ask what department at UNM or?
Yeah, so it's the institute that the city has contracted with to do the evaluation. Is called the Institute for Social Research.
Okay.
Who's on this other camera?
That's
Charles.
Charles Aronson, and he has his own YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Robin, being that you're leaving at 12:30, I'm deviating from the normal process, and I think that's okay since I'm facilitating. I just want to make sure that you're leaving at 12:30. Is there anybody here that has any kind of questions for Robin that she may or may not be able to answer, being that she's not going to be able to really participate through the whole process? Is there, being that she's in the position that she's in, is there questions, things that you still feel are of concern that haven't been addressed, or ideas about how we could change or move forward in different aspects of what's happening right now?
And I apologize for having to leave early. It's just, I have 2 teenagers who have sporting events going on today, and I'm a single parent. So.
I have a question because I don't really understand what your organization and committee does, so could you give a brief overview, and then I'd be able to ask an appropriate question.
Okay. Since 1998, the city of Albuquerque has had an agency for community or civilian oversight of the police. That agency has gone through various changes through the city ordinance as to what its functions, roles, and members were. And has been reviewed by City Council through various studies over the years. Most recently, in the fall of 2013, in somewhat response to the outcry from the community about the lack of civilian oversight of the police, City Council began another study to revise the ordinance of civilian oversight. That resulted in an ordinance which was passed by City Council in September of 2014, which changed the then existing Police Oversight Commission and my former role called the Independent Review Office from 2 separate bodies into one body.
I'm sorry, and the other one was the Oversight Commission? And
the Police Oversight Commission and the Independent Review Office.
Thank you. Commission and Robin was the Independent Review Office.
So now it's one agency called the Civilian Police Oversight Agency. And so the board meets monthly. It's televised on Gov TV. It's the 2nd Thursday of every month at 4 o'clock. We're in City Council chambers. We take public comment on that. But also, as I described, there's the role of the office to receive complaints from citizens about APD for individual conducts. And it can be anonymous complaints, it can be third-party complaints, or it can be the fact that an individual citizen was aggrieved. My professional investigators, who are full-time classified city employees, investigate those complaints. I make a proposed finding to the board. The board then approves the findings. The chief also receives these, and they are individual personnel matters for the police. And so officers have been disciplined because of citizens' complaints by non-police agencies or employees. Officers also have been fired, but also suggestions for changes in policy. Mr. Aronson made a complaint regarding the license plating of illegal driving of police cars, and that resulted in a temporary change from the department, and we're investigating whether or not it's still a good change or not, because Mr. Aronson has observed that there are still police cars driving around without license plates. And so that's one area like we're looking into, but we've also looked into use of force areas, demeanor issues for officers not being professional and courteous with persons. We've received those sorts of complaints. We receive complaints about people who are driving, officers who don't use their turn signal, speeding, that sorts of things. And so sometimes those things are because it's a result of they're on a call, and sometimes it's not. And so we look into those, and so there are individual complaints with individual discipline, but we also receive compliments about the police. Last year we received more compliments than complaints. There were 450,000 calls for service last year by the Albuquerque Police Department approximately, and we received 230 complaints, which were, and we completed investigations on about 190 cases.
Just a little bit more background. My understanding, the Police Oversight Commission came around after there were reports done about police abuse back in the 90s, and a lot of advocacy by community to have some sort of police oversight. That's been going on, and last year, as Robin said, as she put it, partially in response to the public outcry about police misconduct and the shootings. Several people on the Police Oversight Commission resigned, saying that the commission as it was operating at that point in time was a farce, that they didn't want to participate in a pretend process anymore. So it was dissolved by the city commission and reconstituted in the form that it's reconstituted. Robin got rehired, and I'm not sure of the process of that, because I know when the commission got done, and I guess I'm not sure what the process was for you to get your job back, but that's not what we're really here to talk about.
Barbara.
Robin, it was interesting for me when you got to the part that there were also calls or contact made with your office to commend officers. John and Carolyn and I have met through one of these meetings, and that's been a concern of ours, that the community's perception is from the media that it's always negative things about APD. And I think that 450,000 calls made by APD. I think the community needs to know that, how few complaints there are compared with the number of calls made. And one of my concerns has been trying to make the community more aware of positive aspects of APD.
That's our goal too. We publish reports. There was a press story actually on Channel 7 this past week with basically those statistics, that we receive more compliments than complaints. Through my agency, I certainly don't control the press, and I can say that the Police Oversight Board, the new members who met exactly one time now in February, will meet again I'm sorry, they met in March, and they'll meet on April the 9th. They have an outreach committee formed to try to get that going. As part of the settlement agreement, at every substation, and it's supposed to be, I don't know if the enumerated list exactly is, but community centers and libraries, the ability to file a compliment and a complaint about APD is supposed to be known, and that's part of the settlement agreement, that people do know more. But I think, you know, we're trying, is what I would say.
You had a question back
We were
there?
trying to, because we reached out to the Albuquerque, and we weren't terribly successful with getting input, but it's good to know.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I would like to note, first of all, on the point that there's a relatively low number of complaints. I have personally spoken with and interviewed dozens of people who believe that if they complain, they will be killed. I'm not asserting that that's true, but there is a widespread perception in many parts of the city, particularly low-income and minority areas of the city, that making any kind of complaint to the police will bring immediate and violent retaliation. Whether or not it will, in some cases, is kind of irrelevant. It's certainly true that the fact that that perception exists is not being addressed. Secondly, I have kind of a two-part question. Of the 230 complaints you mentioned that were made, how many resulted in discipline for officers? And I also understand, for the second part of my question, just if it's correct, that the process is that the complaints are made to the chief. The chief then decides whether discipline will be given or not, and in any case where the chief alone decides that the discipline will not be made, all he has to do is write a letter to the CPOA. Is that correct?
That's a lot of questions there, so make sure I follow them all. Of the 188 cases, I believe, that we looked at, investigated, these are all approximate numbers there. I believe that we reviewed approximately 600 and some individual allegations of misconduct. So you can complain about one incident and that counts as a case, and then there could be multiple alleged infractions from the rules that the police follow. Of those, I know that we sustained 186 charges against
out of the 600.
Out of the 600, the approximate 600. We sustained around 186. And this is all from memory, so it's an approximate 1/3 of the allegations that we investigated for sustained charges. What the exact discipline in the aggregate is reported in the APD reports that are on the web, and in our reports as well. And so exactly how many of 186 cases, every single time, and Klaus can speak to this as well, because there's concerns about this from the police side of it. Every time a complaint is filed against a police officer, even if it's someone who's trying to get out of charges, if an individual officer is named and it's even found to be totally untrue, false, no speck of truth to it, that complaint goes onto the discipline card of an officer and can affect their ability to transfer, it can affect their ability to promote. So I'd say in each of the 230 cases, every officer who was complained about, that they were identified as such, which were fully investigated. There's a lot of ifs in there, but if it was a fully investigated case, that information goes on an officer's discipline card at the Internal Affairs Division. And the spectrum ranges of affecting transfer to affecting promotion to verbal reprimand, written reprimand, time off without pay, up to firing.
Just to follow up on Andy's question, do you know how many of those ones that you sustained or the commission sustained that the chief agreed with?
There's been some press on that as well lately about the fact that this Chief Eden, has disagreed with the board's finding and my findings regarding lapel camera in particular, and that we do keep statistics on the cases in which the chief does not agree about the outcomes. But the exact number of that I don't have off the top of my head. I know
general
that there's
percentage.
I know there
You're
are
not going to be
16.
held accountable to that particular specific.
Yeah, I know for certain that there are 16 cases, I believe, in which this lapel camera issue was disagreed by the chief who was at the time, and one of those was Chief Banks and one was Acting Chief Garcia, but so 14 Chief Eden disagreed with. There were some others that Chief Eden disagreed with, which I don't recall the exact numbers of those. I just looked at the lapel camera one yesterday, so that's why I know.
So you don't really have an idea about, in general, the 100 or so that you sustain?
No, I don't. I know it's. It's fewer.
And I'm not asking for
it's fewer than 50.
Issue.
I would say it's fewer than 50. It's more than 10. And prior chiefs did not have the same level of disagreement.
Okay, so we do need to move on and get to the sort of agenda, if you will, of questions that we have. So for those of you that have participated in these meetings before, we are going to be, talking about or presenting or exploring the issues around the same sort of questions, if you will, that will be presented to get to those issues. So you can follow along with me because I think it's kind of wordy, but that's just my opinion. On your handout that you got, if you look and it says that we would be starting about 12, but it says key issues, questions to explore. Those are the questions that we will be moving forward with. So I'm going to ask you all, there are some index cards that you all have or have picked up off your chair. Those index cards are there in case you need to sort of process what it is that your answers are going to be, and you can write those down as we give you some time to respond to the questions. So it says, so our first question is, we're going to combine question 1 with question 1A's. What are your goals and expectations for police-community relations in Albuquerque? And why are those goals and expectations important to you? So in this first question, we're looking at the relationship. What are your goals and experience around the relationships? Goals and expectations that you have around the relationships for police and the community. So how would, what would you envision people or police and community service, how would you envision them relating to each other? And so kind of looking at that aspect of it. So the next one is going to be how you interact with each other. So let's try not to move into the interaction in this first part of it. Let's just look at, if I really had some goal or expectations around how I wanted to relate to APD or how APD might want to relate to the community. This is my expectations. These are my goals. So you can take your cards and just jot some ideas down, or give you about 5 minutes to think about that a little bit.
Excuse me, would either of you like to take my place?
Should we concentrate on the home?
I was thinking
Regarding homeless issues as we look at this?
I think that would be the idea, but it's okay to deviate from that if. But thank you for asking.
The observers don't participate. I don't know why she allowed him to speak because he's not part of the group. But we meet. No. It's just that the format has been that if you're not part of the circle, you don't get to speak. And so I think that it would be I can even hear knowing that a lot of seats aren't taken, but I would like to hear from you personally. Well, they usually have 8 in a group, so, but I don't. Yes, I do. He can be kind of rough. That's what dialogues are about. It's not just having all people who agree about things. Honestly, I would be very pleased to give up my place so I can I have nothing. I came with a question of, I mentor a young woman who had been homeless, and through her with the dialogues about what to do with people on the street. I'm giving money to people on the street. Is that a good thing to do? Is that not a good thing to do? Supporting shelters, that's important. That's a good, please, we need to hear from you.
That's how it works.
So I just want to introduce, and I give your first name and tell us please your name. Amarante. He is going to join our dialogue, and I think that one of the things about your participation, from what Barbara said, was that you actually play a large part in feeding the homeless, right?
I feed quite a lot of homeless people. I know quite a lot of homeless people, and I have no. The stuff that the cops have to go through to deal with somebody, so they can get kind of, they spit on them. They're real mean to them,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the homeless to the cops. And so I can see how sometimes it's, I know you guys are real familiar with Boy Camp, but he was kind of out there. He was definitely not somebody you would really want to meet by yourself. He'd make you very nervous.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of here to present both aspects.
But he was.
It depends on what phase of his mental illness was arising. I know people who knew him and they felt completely safe and at ease with him. So I think that's a result of what flow where he was in his mental health.
Yes, and that I think has a lot to do with it too, because it's.
Yeah, whether they're on their meds or if they're even, if they have those mental issues, then that's important. So where they're at that day and time could make a difference.
Yes, because I've had people where they're totally mellow and in 5 minutes they're. I volunteer at Immaculate Conception downtown, and we feed every Sunday. And then I volunteer at the Franciscan Friars, and we feed every Wednesday.
And we used to provide a porta potty.
I'm sorry.
They still do. They still do.
The other one was the friar, the what
The
friar?
Franciscan Friars.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being a part of this. Appreciate your coming in. So I want to go ahead and get your input around the question at hand about goals and expectations. And so our focus should be, if we can, is around the homeless. But if we have other goals and expectations around other ideas in different arenas, that's fine as well. So let's just make sure that we respect the sort of 5-minute rules. We all have an opportunity to participate. So who would like to kind of share first? Who has got something sort of burning inside of them?
I'll go first. I got mine written out, but I'll try to get it done in 5 minutes. I didn't know it had to be done in 5 minutes. It is a responsibility of the Albuquerque Police Department to enforce the laws and to maintain order and peace. That is also the goals of the communities of the city of Albuquerque. As citizens, you want to feel safe and be safe in your home and as you travel and work. We cannot have a police department without weapons, cuffs, tear gas, and K9 dogs. But we can have a police department educated and trained in the proper use of these items. I value the life of a police officer as I would value your life. My experiences, values, beliefs, feelings, and goals teaches me that this city can push us aside all of the conflict or interests and work toward a city that can work and live without the present bitterness that separates us all. We have the abilities to have a safe and fair place to live in. We have the knowledge to reach out and create a safe and fair city. Excessive force is not only a problem within the police department, but it is also a problem within the communities of Albuquerque. Maybe the DOJ should have checked it out, the city as a whole. The community wants to be able to dial 911 and wait for the arrival of well-trained police officers. That this person will work within the community to serve and protect. For some of us, if not all of us, the old fears and distrust will not fade away into the Sedema Mountains. It's not going to be washed away by the summer rains. It's going to take long hours of hard work from the mayor's office, chief of police, and all citizens of this city. The police department is not perfect, nor are we as citizens of Albuquerque. 1% of the police force and 1% of the citizens of Albuquerque will make it hard for all of us to take care about the welfare of this city. As citizens, we have to conduct ourselves as to bring about this stable relationships. Sometimes we have to hide our anger, bitterness, and hate for the betterment of the city. Maybe we need to start with the wisdom of the Bible and branch out for the purpose of dealing with police community stable relationships. I cannot feel the pain that you feel, nor can I feel that everything is right with APB. Maybe we need a Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz to help us solve this problem.
And that was well within 5 minutes.
So if you want to write more.
I didn't write too much about the homeless, but the area where I've been staying central and Wyoming and all the way back to San Mateo, there's a lot of homeless people there. There's a lot of transit people, a lot of drugs, alcohol. You know, it's probably, it might be, I'm not going to say it's the worst part of Albuquerque, but it got to be in the top two or three.
So it was really important for you that you started by talking about how we need to be united and feel safe, and that mistrust is there and it's pretty deep. And you said something about 1% of the people doing the work. What did you mean?
Yeah, you're gonna always have 1%. I don't want to say robot cop, but you're gonna have 1% of the police force that's just
bad.
Not bad, but they're never gonna fit in. Right?
Oh, okay.
You know, they want to be a police officer, and maybe that's their career goal, but that person's always going to do something that's wrong. They're going to be quick to do something that they shouldn't do, that's not within policy. and sometimes they're trying hard, or they have this negative attitude, well, with these people, they need to be mistreated, you know. And so you always have that 1%. And you're gonna have that 1% in the community. They don't like the police. They'll never like the police. Where they got cop killers or tattooed on their skin, or they got that type of mentality or psychological. So those people most likely, they're just like the 1% of the police. They won't change, and the 1% of the community, they'll never change. So these people going to always keep problems going on within the police force and within the community as they have contact with the police. Or in some cases, this 1% in the police, 1% within the community, they may never have no contact with the police, but they agitators, the instigators, and they always spread the rumors. And if something did happen and they seen it, and it did happen, they're gonna spread that. They're gonna spread that information not as a rumor, but just to agitate.
Right.
So
you're basically
you're gonna
saying
always have that 1%.
it's always going to exist. Either.
Like I said, it'll never be perfect.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Someone else?
So first, I need to say I'm here on my own time, my own free will. I'm not getting paid for this. And what you hear is my own personal opinion. So it's not coming from the department. So, and yes, I'm an Albuquerque police officer. Yes.
So I'm going to ask as recorder for this and the one doing the report. I feel like I'm going to represent you as a community member rather than say the officer said or anything like that, just for everybody's clarity in here so that you are an individual not representing the police.
So there were questions about goals. I have several goals. In general, I would like to get accomplished between the community and the police department. Their trust, understanding, support, and the one I'm going to mention at the end of my little spiel here. For trust, I'm asking for little things. It's like if I get called to help someone, I have their best interest in mind. Not everyone might understand how I get there and why I do what I do, but I'm pretty sure when I get up in the morning, I'm thinking about how to help someone, not how to hurt someone. Unfortunately, these best interests are bound by law. So I only have a certain amount of latitude what I can do. And it's very much influenced by who I come in contact with. I give a very easy to understand example. If I pull someone over for having a headlight out, my goal is not to give them a ticket. A lot of people don't know that one of their lights is out. I would like to let them know. If I hear they're gonna fix it, it's all perfect for me. If they keep driving, they're seen as a motorcycle and they might get run into. It's just, that's my way of thinking. If I walk up to the car and I get an attitude of me trying to help them, I'm human. It's going to influence my decision how I treat someone. I obviously try not to let it influence me, but if the first thing I hear, "Pig, what are you going to do here?" my response is going to be different. It's still going to be professional, but it's going to be professionally different in the latitude I have to react to these people. So that's where it comes for the understanding. If you see something, if you see a police officer acting and using force, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely agree. In every profession, there are the people who don't do the right thing and they need to be weeded out. And I don't have a problem with police oversight at all. It needs to be done, and it's not different than any other profession. So, but I would like to have the understanding. If we do something, we are trained to do something, and it's done for a reason. At least in the 99% or more than 99% of the cases, because if you see 238 or 600 complaints out of 400,000 or 500,000 calls, that's, a very, very minute portion. And then, but my main thing is I would like to see the support of the community. I'm a community member. If I call the police, I would like the police to show up. I would like them to be professional and treat me the right way. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to treat every person I come in contact with like I would treat my own grandmother. But on the other hand, I also would like to get some support back. If I tell someone to do something, it's not because I have a badge and there is no reason I would like to make someone's life hard. It has a reason. I just don't have the time to explain it at the moment. I might be able to revisit it later when everything is safe and secure, but at this time, just give a police officer the benefit of the doubt if he asks you to do something, and do it and question it later, not then. That brings me to a totally different thing. In this country, overall, what I always said is the trust, the understanding, and the support comes down to what type of police do you want in your society or your community. And there's one example. If you go to teachers, just as an example, if you look at teachers in Northern European countries, they have a lot higher standing than teachers in the US. It means there's prestige involved with being a teacher. Everyone looks up to a teacher. And this is very similar to other professions in other countries. Here, a teacher isn't seen as something very special. If you compare graduation rates in this country to countries where a teacher is seen as something to look up to, you see the difference. You also see the difference in pay and incentives of being a teacher. So the whole thing is just going to, you can talk a lot about what you want as a society, but there need to be the action of supporting it. As I said, trust, understanding, and support is one of the things which is needed, and it's also monetary support. If you want the police officer who can do everything you want him to do, is always professional, is on camera all the time, is perfect, then you might want to invest in training these people the same way you want them to act. Example, a police academy here is about 27 weeks. A police academy in Germany is 30 months.
It's 30 months?
Yeah, 30 months. Then also, unfortunately, the police is the mental health department of the city. So the police gets called to cause which shouldn't be police business. And again, I'm not saying the police shouldn't do it. It comes back to the understanding. You have to understand. You're not calling someone who has a background, a PhD, and is able to prescribe medication. No, you're calling someone who has 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, because there are not a lot of us, to spend and fix a crisis for someone who has a 30-year history. And that's just too much to ask. It's not going to work. You need the mental health facilities, and you need society as a whole to support police, and then you need to make a decision, what type of police force do you really want? And me as a community member, and unfortunately it's maybe a little bit different because I come from a different state where taxes aren't seen as something so bad. I wouldn't feel so bad paying $50 more property tax to get the training and the professional attitude and the equipment for not only the police, but all the other things which support the police. That's my thing. I hope I had it within the 5 minutes.
I just want to make a comment about telling people to do stuff. This is New Mexico. People do not like to be told what to do here. You know what I mean? As soon as you tell them to do something, they're going to be like, well, why should I do that? Who are you? And you're standing there in your uniform and they're still, well, who are you? You know, who are you to, and you can get, yeah, because I do it too. I ask them to do stuff and they don't do it.
But that's the thing, what needs to be understood.
I'm sorry, can I just, only because John requested that you speak a little bit louder?
Everybody.
Yeah, he's, help him to hear better.
I'm sorry about that, John. I'm going to try to do better, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
There was only one more thing. Police is the community. There shouldn't be such a divide between police and community. The trust again, if I ask for something, and I know it's hard from all the history, I would like that someone assumes it's for the best interest of everyone involved here. And that's not happening. It's this constant questioning of authority, which is correct. Authority should be questioned. But there also should be, or we should get to a place where we could trust each other. If I do something wrong, I would like someone to question me and show me that there is something wrong with my actions. On the other hand, if I do something, I would like someone else I interact with to believe, at least to try to believe, that there is a reason and that I'm not having that I'm not trying to do something bad before I even arrive.
Why do you say there's a division between the police department and the community?
Yes.
I said, why? What reasons do you...
I really don't understand. As I said before, I'm a police officer for a year now. So I don't understand it. But one little thing which is so obvious to me is when I grew up, the first thing I got told is, if you're in trouble, you find someone in uniform and you're going to be safe. What kids get told here is, if you don't go to bed on time or you don't do your homework, I'm going to call the police and they bring you to jail. It's a different attitude, it's a different idea of what authority means.
And I think that's changed over the years. When I was growing up, I was told exactly the same thing. You're in trouble to find a police officer and call them. I think that for certain segments of the community, they've seen that myth of the police officer as you present and as you are, in lots of times doesn't follow true, and that there's been lots of abuses and people have had bad feelings, so that has deteriorated that sense of, yeah, I'll call the police officer, when I'm in trouble. Am I talking loud enough?
You're talking loud enough, but you're not representing my life at all. My parents taught me how to respect everybody. And they never threatened me, if you don't do this, I'm going to call the police.
Yeah, me neither.
That's the stupidest thing I've heard
I never
today.
got that growing up.
So we want to be respectful of our language.
I never got that.
Respectful. And
I'm just
words-
saying of the language, that's okay.
What language?
The word stupid.
What's wrong with the word stupid?
Nothing. Nothing if you didn't mean it derogatory. You're good. You're
He didn't
good.
mean it that way.
Okay.
And that was, I don't think stupid
Okay.
was directed at me. Or
Okay,
anybody.
good. Thank you.
But I'm agreeing with you. I was not told, if you're bad, I'm going to call the cops and they're going to come punish you. I was told if you need help, call a cop. But I believe a lot of that trust in our police officers have deteriorated because of the exposure of abuses within the police force.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to leave, but I'll watch the rest of this through Charles's YouTube channel, and so anything you have to say. And I'm leaving my cards on the back table if anyone wants to contact us. Thanks, Roger.
I would like to, go ahead. I just would like to add something. I had a theme about sticking with the homeless. I wrote down in my notes some of the things that were said. APD's interaction, and here I got the respect. The same word to use, respect. Respect for the individual. Part of the things that I believe has happened for the publicity, reputation, is twofold. One is we got the APD, them have to get on social media and other things for the young and stronger crowd, the places where the homeless are. The interaction, how do you the expectation of the police to the homeless. When they are out there and they respond, what's the expectation of APD to the homeless? How are they going to interact? The homeless shelter should be information. This is how you should interact with the police. It should be publicized out there in the places where they are. This is how you should interact. And then obviously that's part of training. It goes back to one thing that he mentioned. And training is one of the things I have down here. Time and money to invest in more police officers or better training, it costs money. And that's going to take something from the city to do that. But police officers are expected from us, the community, to be almost masters of a lot of different things when they're interacting with people. The mental health, the mentally ill, the homeless, those that are not, the young, the old. It takes training. It takes a different type of person to be a police officer and be able to engage with them, even when they're spitting on you or screaming at you, okay? That takes training and discipline not to react in a hostile manner. Possibly understanding that maybe this person is mentally ill or whatever. So for a police person to be put in that situation, it takes a lot of training. And they may not necessarily have the time to get that training. Come from a security and police background in the military, you have a limited amount of time for training because they have to be out there doing the duty and the work for the community. So there has to be a medium that says this is what you want from the community to the police, and then that has to match up with budgetary somehow. That has to match up. To get what you want, you have to communicate with the community. Just getting a few people from the concerned citizens is not enough. You got to get more people involved, and the word has to get out, and you have to bring more people in to get their viewpoint. I've been to one of the meetings, and there were people from the mental health section of Albuquerque that are paid to do that, and for different sections around here. And there are different rules. I won't go to everything that they said, but what I will say is, what they did say was that they're a little behind. They're a couple of years from where they need to be. There is not a mental health person that's on the other end of the call. When the call comes in, the call may not say this person is mentally ill. That's not a mental health person that's there. They call for police action. So therefore, the police respond. Now, in the future, hopefully, I'm told that maybe a mental health type person will also be at the same location where these calls come in, and maybe they can respond jointly. I don't know. They're not there yet. But that part of training, allocating resources, funds, to say this is the type of community, or this is the type of police that we need to have. So part of that is the respect of the individual. How is the policeman going to, when he goes into an area where he knows it's predominantly homeless, right, and potentially he's encountering a homeless person, okay, how's he going to react to that? Is he trained to do that? He goes in and with his training he acts, hopefully, he's going to treat whoever he encounters with respect. Part of the reason I know we respond is there, weapons involved, is there danger, has someone been hurt, what's the deal? That changes the policeman's perspective as he responds to that location. But one of the key things I'll say again is the information that should be in the homeless shelters, should be with the police, how you're going to interact with each other, what's the expectations? That should be put out on the news media, should be put on billboards, should be put on wherever they are. We need to put the information on how the expectation of respect for each other. What can I expect when I encounter you? I know if I'm in the car and I'm driving and he pulled me over, I know, and I've been pulled over for no reason at all, and for a reason of, when they ask me where are you going, just because I have Washington D.C. license plates going to a location. I know why he pulled me over, but in the end, calm demeanor, answer the questions, and I'm on my way. I don't have to get upset because I believe he pulled me over because he's profiling me. My interaction with the officer dictates a lot of things. It doesn't hurt me to answer the question, and I could be on my merry way. So sometimes we got to be, okay, let's respect that he's asked me the question for a good reason. If I'm out on the street corner and he comes out and he asks me to, hey, can you step to the side over here? For the reason why maybe it's a safety thing. Situations like that. But he doesn't have the time to explain that. because he had a situation. So as a matter of respect for me, if I'm an officer, I would ask that you give me respect, and I'm doing this in your best interest, so that I can communicate with whatever the situation is. So part of that is the training of the officers, the respect that you're going to have as an individual to the officer, and the officer to you. Part of my knowledge in this, I was in Dallas prior to 2005 for about 5 years. And in my undergraduate work, I did a report on the homeless, interaction with police and communities and different things in that. And some of the things that they were afraid of is the interaction with the police on them, pushing them out, telling them they can't be placed and things of that nature. They were worried about their safety just as all the people are. So the homeless have some concerns. And I would hope that when you have these meetings that the homeless would come to these meetings so you can hear from them, because you're missing a big part of the concern and the respect factor or their fear factor.
I'm just asking if you're about
I am.
Okay.
So interactions can be better and reputations can be better as if you communicate what the expectations are, and then so that you put the word out in the right media, whether it's social media, whether it's billboards or places where the homeless are. The training includes this, the expectations from the two, so that people can learn to work better together. But it's going to take more training definitely on the police part to interact with mentally ill. That's not necessarily part of it.
I would like to add just one sentence to this.
Yes, when we'll get, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name.
Klaus.
Klaus, comment, and then we'll get with you, John.
The respect needs to be in both sides. The police needs to have enough respect for the community to hear their side as well. Because I, even as a police officer, don't agree that if you got pulled over for no reason, there should be a way for you to voice your concern, that you feel at least that you got pulled over for no reason. Because that is just a thought is plain wrong that you feel this way. There needs to be some dialogue later on and why it happened and what can be done better. But the respect is both sides. If I am a community member as well as an officer and I get pulled over for no reason, yeah, this is going to make me pretty upset, I tell you. It goes both ways.
Thank you. John?